Look around you. Consider the faces you walk by each day on the streets. Look in the eyes of your coworkers, your friends, your family. Do you see it? You sum the walking dead among us. I do, and it scares me more than any opponent I've ever fought. They live. Their hearts beat. They breathe. They get up, go to work, come home, sleep and do it all over again the next day. But they died long ago. Most people die at 25, my friend, but they aren't buried until they're 75. You think I'm referring to some kind of ethereal idea? No, I refer to something I see every day, something that tears me apart as a teacher, as a philosopher, as a human being. I mean the death of a person who has ceased to live. I've seen it happen. The moment is almost visible. That moment when their eyes go out, not from physical death. No, this is the moment they embrace limits as reality. The instant they exchange their dreams for what others call security. The moment they cease to grow and begin to exist. This death is silent. There are no certificates, no ceremonies. It creeps in through comfort, through routine, through the quiet acceptance that this is just how things are. It comes the day you stop asking questions, stop stretching, stop testing your limitations. But here's what hurts me the most. This death is a choice. A decision not in one goofy minute, but in a 1,000 quiet capitulations. A dream deferred here, a risk not taken there, a passion deemed impractical, a goal deemed unrealistic. And so they die at 25, these living dead. Their bodies go on, but their spirits lie dormant in the grave of what once could have been. They sleepwalk through life for 50 years, just waiting for the body to catch up with what died long ago inside. But listen, pal, I'm not here to just paint that tragic picture. I'm here because I have seen the resurrection myself. I have seen people rise from this death, and that this is where I am, and this is what I want to share with you. Because most people may die at 25, but you don't have to be most people. Last year, a companion of mine enrolled in my school, a superb young man, gifted with strength, technique. But something was missing. When I asked him to explore a different movement, to come up with his own way of doing it, he froze. Just point me in the right direction, he said. I'll copy it perfectly. This, dear friend, is the movement of mental death. You know, mental death is not in the making. It's a process, a gradual capitulation that generally peaks around 25. Why 25? Because this is when society wants you to grow up, be realistic, settle down. This is where most people barter their passions on what others deem security. Watch a child learn. They do not care about appearing ridiculous. They tumble, they giggle, they stand up, they attempt again. The past 2 decades of teaching me what I can get away with have shown a 3-year-old trying the same moves which keep most adults on the sidelines. Not because adults are incapable of doing them, but rather because at some point in life, they learn to be more afraid of failure than they are excited for growth. Brandon, when he was a little boy, I remember training with him. He would ask why 1,000 times. Why do we stand this way? Why do we breathe like this? Why? Why each question was the key to another door. Every answer raised more questions. That is the native condition of the human mind. Exhaustive inquiry, unlimited exploration. But then something happens. Society begins its work. Cut down on the questions. Come on. That's just how it is. Be practical. Be realistic. In different words, every one of those statements is a nail in the coffin of mental vitality. Every time we put up with them, we die a little inside. I have witnessed this transformation with my queen so many times. Students enter full of questions, full of desire to learn. But when I challenge them outside their own comfort zone, when I encourage them to think for themselves, to explore their own expression, too many of them run back to the safety of imitation. Just tell me what to do, they tell me. This is the hour of choice, the fulcrum point between growth and death. But here's what I've learned on my own journey. It's not about physical resurrection, but mental resilience. Falling down 7 times to get up 8. Every time you continue to rise, to question again, to seek again. The choice to live or die is the gamble you take in order to win the chance to dance once more with life. There was a student of mine once who stuttered on his first public demonstration, totally froze. The old way of thinking would tell you you're not suited for this. But he returned the following day, and the next 7 times he failed publicly. Nepal had stopped by the 8th time. Not just his performance, his whole being. He had learned that failure is not the opposite of success. It's part of it. This is what I mean by mental death versus mental life. It's not a question of intelligence or education. It's about your relationship with growth itself. Are you still open to being a beginner? Will you still look dumb in search of growth? Does that mean you'd still get up that 8th time? The first sign of mental death is arguably the subtlest and the most destruction. The death of curiosity, like a candle coming to its still flickering end, not in a gust of wind, but among the stale air. It starts so quietly that you may not even notice it's happening. I see it in the eyes of successful martial artists who visit my school. I know this already. Their eyes seem to say, even before they start, 2 decades of training, and they use that knowledge as a set of worldly armor, not to make their tendrils stronger, but to block anything new from climbing in. They have answers to everything, but have forgotten how to question anything. Let me tell you a deep observation I made. The most dangerous 5 words in any language are "I know the answer," not because knowledge kills, but because the illusion of all-knowing kills growth. When you use the phrase "I know," what you're really saying is "I've stopped looking." When you say "I understand" without rigorous exploration, what you're actually saying is "I've stopped discovery." A child approaches a butterfly. They are curious. First time seeing one. They're full of questions. Why does it fly like that? How does it know which flower to pick? Why are those the colors of its wings? But each question is a window into wonder. Each answer creates 3 more questions. This is the living mind, the fertile dirt where sprouts do bloom. But at some point along the way, we start answering without questioning. We begin to nod without questioning. We follow without questioning. That's just the way things are, we tell ourselves. And every time we say this, a little bit of one curious mind dies. I had a student once, and he was a very educated man. When I asked why he wanted to learn, he told me it was to add one more style to my closet. He didn't want to learn. He wanted to acquire. He didn't want to question. He wanted to possess. This is the contrast between living knowledge and dead data. The death of curiosity doesn't occur in moments of drama. It occurs in small capitulations. It takes place when you stop asking why and what if. That's when you trade the comfort of knowing for the adventure of exploring. It is when the questions scare you more than the answers move you. Remember this. In the expert's mind, there are few answers. In the beginner's mind, there are many. When you 2 pence your 2 pennies worth and think there is no more, that's when you have stopped living and started dying. A truly alive mind has no end to its questions, no end to its wonder, no end to its quest for understanding. The second sign stings a little more than the first, the death of courage, and not to summon the physical courage to stare down an opponent, but the spiritual courage to stare yourself down. This is the courage that is extinguished when we opt for the coziness of our comfort zone. Down over the chilly tempests of growth. I underwent this option myself when I made a decision to coach Westerners the insider secrets to Kung Fu. My own community rejected me. This is not our way, they told us. These are not our traditions. They promised me security if I would simply submit, if I followed old paths, if I stood within the walls of the usual. A warm feeling here, but the trap was a deadly trap, comfortable, familiar, and deadly to the spirit. The funny part is, Society has designed an ideal cage for the human soul. They call it security. They call it stability. They wrap it in golden bars and show you what success is supposed to look like. And bit by bit, day by day, your faith to step beyond these bars erodes. Not because you don't have the power to escape, but because you cease to think you ought to. I see this in my own students when I tell them to express themselves honestly in their movement. But what will others think? They ask. This is the voice of dying courage. When you start to measure your actions against other people's approval, when you fear standing alone more than you fear standing still, this is where the courage starts to die. Security, the lure of it, the embrace of it, is the deadliest enemy of courage. It whispers, why risk what you have? Why challenge what's working? Why be unique when you can fit in? Every whisper is a poison, every comfort a small death. You start to select what is safe instead of what is right, what is expected rather than what is possible. Let me tell you about bravery. Fairy tale definitions of heroism tell us anyone who throws themselves into danger is heroic, but true courage is not the absence of fear. It's about being scared and doing it anyway. It's about being bold, standing alone when the mob moves in the other direction. It's about challenging traditions, even when tradition tries to stamp you out. About daring to be wrong, to be foolish, to fail spectacularly in the name of true. The death of courage is especially tragic because it wears the mask of wisdom. Be realistic, they say. Be practical, they advise. Don't shoot the boat, they tell you. But remember this. //U0027 //U0027 //U0027. When you lose your courage, a prison is created. A prison without walls, without bars, without guards. Because you imprison yourself, you put yourself in the cage of what if and throw away the key of why not. You condemn yourself to a life of dull regret, passing a sentence of easy mediocrity. The third sign of living death is the saddest. The death of creativity, not mere artistic creativity or even personal expression. It's the death of your unique way of moving around in the world, your distinctive way of seeing, your true way of being. I recall watching a master sculptor with clay. His hands moved freely, purposefully, with personal truth. Then I watched his students, copying his exact moves in an attempt to recreate his artwork piece by piece. They didn't realize the master's greatness lay not in his technique, but in his freedom to express his own truth. That is what happens in martial arts schools all over the world. Students learn shapes, orders, forms. They are exact replicas of their masters, so much that they perfect the copy. They kill something precious, their own expression. They march without questioning, repeat without comprehension, act without existence. Creativity dies the minute you start having limited thoughts. That's the way it's always been. These are the rules. Stay within the lines. Every one of these thoughts is a chain, tying your spirit, constraining your movement, imprisoning your expression. You get so technically perfect that you forget to be honest. I've seen gifted fighters become nothing but technicians. They know every move, all the counters, or the combinations, but they've lost the capacity to flow, to mold to the space, to make it up on the spot. Instead, they've exchanged the living art of expression for the dead certitude of repetition. Your creativity dies the moment you switch to that mindset of one right way to do things. It dies when you put a premium on perfection instead of authenticity. It dies when you pick imitation over expression. Your energy might still flow, but like a river forced into a concrete channel, trapped in its course, it has lost its natural course, its ability to carve new paths, its potency to shape its own route. This death is disguised because it arrives draped in mastery. You might get really good at towing the line. Your techniques may be impeccable. your execution ideal. But if this perfection costs you your personal truth, you've exchanged your living spirit for a pretty cage. Keep in mind that original creativity isn't necessarily doing the opposite. It's being true by virtue of being alive. It's about letting your energy flow, your truth to emerge, your unique soul to roam freely. Here, my friend, we arrive at the crux of change. Awakening is not a summit far off in a mountain range, somewhere to reach. It's a process that starts with your next breath, your next thought, your next decision. Let me tell you what I found in my lowest moment of frustration after my back injury, when doctors told me I might never kick again. The mind and body are not separate entities. They are a single, flowing river of energy. A still pond breeds disease, stagnant mind, death. A stagnant mind breeds death. But, like water, the mind can be trained to flow, can seek round, under, or over any obstruction. Understanding this your mind is, like your muscles, the first step to mental revival. Get stronger by defaulting to pushback. When you stretch against your mental limits, you cause micro tears in your old mind. And like muscle tissue, these tears heal stronger, more pliable, more animated. Here's how we begin. Before your body climbs out of bed each morning, get your brain up and moving. Pick one thing you've always taken for granted. Just one thing. It could be a belief about yourself, about what's possible, about what you deserve. You hold that belief up to the light. Turn it around. Allow it to wander in the sun from different births. This is mental stretching. Throughout your day, now practice what I call conscious disruption. Take a different route to work. Carry out simple tasks with your non-dominant hand. Talk to someone you'd normally avoid. Every disruption is a jujitsu match with your brain, training it to pivot, to roll, to survive in the now. But here's the crucial part. You are reason to the essence water. Water does not resist obstacles. It goes around them. It does not resist freezing temperatures. It adapts and becomes ice. It is not afraid of any container. It takes a form to preserve a true form. This is not just poetry. This is practical wisdom for the mental resurrection. Allow me to share a transformation I got to observe. Mindset shackled for 20 years, a student approached me. He knew straight lines, fixed patterns, absolute rules. I had asked him to spar with a child, not to be the teacher, but the student. Observe the way the kid moves, I told him. Unmapped territories, no preset placements. Just responding to the moment. At first he resisted. His mind was made up, and nothing would change it. Day after day, though, through incessant fluidity practice, his mental stiffness started fissuring. The breakthrough was an unexpected one. Instead of freezing in place, he flowed when his planned technique didn't pan out during a demonstration. As if water were discovering another channel, his mind and body adjusted instantly. I saw it in his eyes, the awakening at that moment. He had elevated an act that had devolved into physical movement to achieve something greater, to be alive, fully alive in the moment. This is a picture of mental revival. It has nothing to do with knowledge accumulation. It's about clearing the blocks to your natural flow. It is about unlearning rigidity, unlearning limitations, unlearning the very idea of impossible. Practice this. Whatever challenge you're up against, ask yourself, what would water do? Water does not force its way through the strongest part of a dam. It finds the cracks. It seeps through gradually. It rides over the top. It flows underneath. That's mental flexibility in action. Let me show you the tools that can bring back a dying spirit. But understand this. These aren't just exercises. There is a weapon against that death we talked about. Much like the weapons in my queen, their true power does not lie in the tool itself, but rather how much you insert them into your soul. We start with daily questioning routine. Every morning, before the world can get a hold on your rhythm, you need to interrogate the three thes. Your own limiting belief about yourself, your limiting belief about your limits, and your limiting belief about possibility. But here's the crucial part. Not just merely question. Question like your life depends on it, because it does. I once had a student who was convinced that he could never master the 1-inch punch. He would wake up every morning and question this belief. Is it true I can't? Who told me this? Instead, what if the reverse were true? He not only mastered the technique within months, but gained much more, the strength questioning his own weaknesses. The second tool is what I refer to as discomfort integration training. Everyone has the instinct to flee when we feel discomfort. I want you to run toward it. Suspend small discomforts, cold showers, difficult conversations, unfamiliar tasks. Your body and your mind will cry out for the familiar, for the comfortable. This is the moment of choice, the moment where growth exists. Here's how to practice. Every day, actively look for one discomfort. Stay with that discomfort. Study it. Understand it. Don't try to overcome it. Doing so will help you get intimate with it. A warrior does not lose fear by avoiding fear. They get close and personal with fear until it's a tool, not a barrier. The third tool is creative response training. This isn't about art and breaking the cycles that imprison your lit stars. Start with simple exercises. Brush with your non-dominant hand. Take a new route to work. Have your meals in reverse order, and then go up. Use instruments from totally different domains to solve issues. If your business is facing a challenge, ask, how would a martial artist solve this? If you have a relationship question, think like a sculptor. Now this is where these tools intersect with physical training, the integration point that renders them self-sustaining. Train your mind alongside your body when your body is getting trained. Challenge your boundaries with every physical rep. If you are rooted in the difficult position, examine your dis-ease. But when you are working on techniques, make breaks in your habits. You need markers to gauge your scale. Look for these. When your first response to barriers becomes curiosity rather than frustration, when discomfort begins to feel more like an old friend than an adversary, when you surprise yourself with your solutions to problems, when you find yourself automatically questioning assumptions, when adapting is your default and no longer a struggle. But let me tell you how hard it is going to be. Your mind will resist. It will produce elaborate excuses. I don't have time. This isn't practical. I'll start tomorrow. These are what they call get-out-of-jail-free cards. Death we just mentioned, trying to hang on to death. The biggest barrier of all is what I call the comfort conspiracy. You need to think about the way your environment, your habits, and your relationships all conspire to keep you comfortable, to keep you dead. Your old habits will call to you like sirens. Your familiar limitations will feel like old friends. This is when you so have to remember that comfort is the enemy of growth. Here's a tangible method for contending with these challenges. Write what I term as a discomfort contract with yourself. Each week, note 3 new discomforts you'll allow, 3 patterns you'll shift, 3 questions you'll meditate. Make sure you share this contract with someone who will hold you accountable. Writing and sharing is a way to create a bridge between intention and action. But today, here and now, you are at a crossroad. Not tomorrow, not next week, but in this very breath you are taking. The decision to live rather than exist is not a one-time choice. It is an invention of every moment, with every decision. For every breath, gaze at your hands. The same fist that can be closed can open to embrace life. These hands that can protect you from harm can also stretch out and grasp growth. You have to decide now, and the choice is yours. I challenge you. Hey no, I double dare you to not half-heartedly live for one full day. A single day of having doubts about everything, of living into every discomfort, of speaking your truth without fear. A single day of fully inhabiting your life may set you free forever. You see, the universe is not invested in your comfort. It does not reward those who play safe. The universe bends to the lives of the brave who resist being undead in a world of the walking dead. Every amazing endeavor in human history started with someone deciding to live. Revisit water when others just dwelled. These were not gentle streams, but the unforgiving ocean. The ocean doesn't seek permission to be strong. It doesn't apologize for its depth. It doesn't ask for permission before it moves. It just exists in all its glory. This is how you must live. Your life isn't a dress rehearsal. This is not a practice run, a temporary death, a test resurrection. You rot inside a little more every time you opt for comfort over growth, security over adventure, or conformity over authenticity. But equally true is this. And every time you pick growth over comfort, adventure over security, authenticity over conformity, you come to life just a little bit more. And these little moments of choosing life, they compound, they cement, they change. So I ask you one final time, will you be one of the many who die at 25 and get buried at 75? Or will you be amongst the few who dare to live until the last breath? That is your choice, and it starts now. Not tomorrow, not later. Now remember, the world needs you alive. Not breathing, not just alive, but alive, alive, alive. Because when you have the courage to live fully, you give the rest of us permission to do so, too. Your awakening sends out ripples that wake others. Your life becomes their inspiration to start. Now go live, not because I told you to, but because you can feel deep down in your bones that you are destined for more than simply existing. No more half-living. The time is over. Now is the time for full living. A warrior doesn't become fearless by running away from fear. They get friendly with fear until it's a tool instead of a stumbling block. The third is creative response training. This isn't about art. It's about shattering the scripts that cage in your responses. Start with simple exercises. Brush your teeth with your chop hand. Take a new route to work. But then go large. Eat your meals backward. Use tools from totally disparate domains to solve problems. When facing a business challenge, ask yourself how a martial artist would attack the problem. If you have a relationship challenge, think about how a sculptor would handle it. Now here's where these tools converge with physical training, the fulcrum that will make them irresistible. Train your mind just as you do your body, as you train just your body. For every physical repetition, challenge your limits. Take a hard line, but examine your unease. It can be useful to interrupt your patterns, especially when you are practicing techniques. You need milestones along the way to see how far you've come. Notice these signs when your primary response to roadblocks shifts toward curiosity rather than frustration, when discomfort starts feeling a lot more like an old friend than an enemy, when even you are surprised by your solutions to problems, when you find yourself automatically questioning assumptions, what it is to be adapted rather than to adapt. That said, here are the hurdles you'll need to overwheel. Your mind will resist. It will make up elaborate excuses. I don't have time. This isn't practical. I'll start tomorrow. See these for what they are. The death we were just talking about, struggling to hold on. The obstacle most often people names is what I call the comfort conspiracy. How your environment, your habits, and your relationships all work to keep you comfortable, to keep you dead. Your old habits will sing to you like sirens. Your old limitations, familiar, will feel like old friends. This is when you have to remind yourself that comfort is the enemy of growth. Here's one practical way to overcome these hurdles. Take a discomfort contract with yourself, as I like to call it. Every week, note down 3 new discomforts you will embrace, 3 old patterns you will break, 3 questions you will sit with and explore deeply. Read this contract to someone who will keep you accountable. Writing something and sharing it takes intention and turns it into action. At this moment, you stand at a crossroads. Not tomorrow, not next week, but in this very breath you're taking. The decision to live or just exist is not made once. It is made in every moment, with every decision. Every breath. Look at hands. These hands that can make a fist can also open to receive life. These hands that can protect you from harm can also reach out and grasp growth. That decision is yours, and it has to be now. I challenge you. No, I challenge you to be fully alive for one day. And that will be just a one-day question of welcoming every discomfort, of fully expressing yourself. One day of actually living may be enough to jolt you awake for a lifetime. You see, the universe has no idea what feels good to you. There are no rewards for people who play it safe. In a world inhabited by the walking dead, the universe bows down to those who dare to be alive, who dare to live fully. All of the greatest accomplishments in human history were accomplished by someone who decided to be alive. Think about water again when you were just living as people. Not gentle streams this time, but powerful ocean. The ocean does not seek permission to be strong. It does not feel guilty about its depth. It does not ask permission to move. It just is, in its full splendor. This is how you must live. This is not a dress rehearsal, right? There are no dress rehearsals, no temporary deaths, no dry runs at resurrection. You die a little more with each choice you make for comfort instead of growth, for security instead of adventure, for social acceptance instead of authenticity. But equally true is this, and every moment you choose growth over comfort, adventure over security, authenticity over conformity, you come more alive. And these micro-choices of choosing life, they compound, they compound, they compound, they become life, they become you. So I ask you one final time, are you going to be one of the millions who die at 25 and wait to be buried at 75? Will you leave this life to have never lived at all except in retrospect? The decision is yours, and it starts now. Not tomorrow, not later. Now remember, the world needs you alive. Not breathing, not existing, but alive, fully and magnificently and authentically alive. For when you choose to live fully, you allow others the space to join you. Your awakening creates ripples that awaken others. Your courage to live is their courage to start. Now go live, not because I said so, but because you can feel it in your bones that you were made for more than just an existence. The time for half living is done. It's time to live fully.